Could Bitcoin be the answer to securing Sweden's financial future? Dennis Dioukarev, Sweden's youngest ever parliament member and Bitcoin advocate, joins me to explain why he's pushing the country to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We explore his journey from curious politician to national Bitcoin advocate and why this is about more than finance. It's about sovereignty and preparing Sweden for a global monetary shift. Stay tuned to learn how his controversial proposals spark debate at the highest levels of Swedish government and how the Swedish central bank might be missing out on the Bitcoin revolution. All right, let's dive in. All right, Dennis Dioukarev, welcome to Bitcoin for Millennials.
Thank you. Also happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy you're here too. This was some time coming. We ran into each other in Vegas, and you were introduced to me, and I've been following you ever since. Very cool to see what you are doing as a Swedish Parliament member and a Bitcoin advocate. So I'm excited to explore and share what you've been doing, and also how you came here. Maybe that's a nice place to start. So yeah, what is kind of like your personal journey? What inspired you to get involved in politics at a very young age? You were 21 when you were elected in the parliament. And where did Bitcoin enter the picture?
Bitcoin, actually, for me, I thought about this some days ago, and Bitcoin for me entered the picture back in 2014. So this was when I was elected into parliament. This was actually 2014. And at that point in time, I was the youngest member of parliament in Sweden. But for some reason, I didn't investigate Bitcoin any deeper at that point. And my core belief is that as a politician, you should always do your own research before having a strong opinion on something. And I felt that I didn't have the knowledge about Bitcoin like 12 years ago to have a strong opinion on it. But I followed the journey ever since. And for me, the pivotal time for me was the decline in all asset prices back in 21, 22, even so in Bitcoin. And, you know, I've heard this kind of narrative, okay, oh, it's just a bubble and so on and so forth. And I thought to myself, okay, when you study financial bubbles, if you take the tulip mania from your country, from the Netherlands, it was actually, it is considered to be the first financial bubble in the world. 1634 to 37. And then you look at the financial crisis, 07 to 09. So regularly speaking, financial crises are very short in time, and bubbles are very short. When you look at Bitcoin, it has been around since 09, and it has done a few declines and then climb up back to new all-time highs. And I thought to myself, okay, if it rebound once again, then I need to investigate this further, and this is exactly what I did. And I have my own opinion about it. I'm not, you know, fully learned yet, but I believe that I have a grounded opinion about Bitcoin at this point, and now I'm here with you.
Yeah. So you started studying. Of course, you had your work as a parliament member. What was the aha moment when you first understood or saw the potential for the country of Bitcoin being something that goes way beyond what individuals would acquire?
Well, you know, when I went to Vegas and I saw all this, you know, the whole Bitcoin community, it was so versatile group of people, you know, from all over the world, all different backgrounds, professionally, and for me, that was a very interesting moment to have the ability to chat with people from all over the world, get their experience and get their story on how they, you know, discovered Bitcoin. And I thought to myself, okay, this sounds a lot of like my intellectual process as well. And as you say, if you're like intellectually curious, then for me, like Bitcoin, once you've made up your decision about it, once you saw it, like there's no going back, because you saw kind of the truth and the potential in Bitcoin. I work with financial markets, financial stability, and central bank related issues professionally, like a MP. And what you've seen like the last couple of years is that the central banks all over the world has been pumping liquidity into the system and being partly responsible for the inflation that we've seen the last couple of years. At the same time, we have a spending problem in the US. Debt to GDP ratio is 120%. They spend more on net interest payments last year compared to like social security, education, and defense. And of course, at some point in time, you have to start questioning if this is reasonable, if this is a sustainable path for the global monetary system. And like you said, like the whole monetary system is based on fiat money. And I believe that this path that we're currently on is not sustainable in the long run.
Would you say that is your core rationale in the sense that this is Bitcoin is an asset that could help Sweden prepare for the inevitable crash? Like, is it from a protection point of view, or like how did you approach sharing that with others?
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the reasons why I suggest these building of strategic Bitcoin reserve. The other one being is for geopolitical reasons as well, because what we see now is these international trends. We have the Genius Act, the Clarity Act that passed with bipartisan support in the US, of the current US administration that are very openly pro Bitcoin. In Europe, we have Great Britain, we have our neighbor country Finland that have Bitcoin confiscated, and countries such as Poland, Latvia, and Czech Republic are openly planning to build up strategic Bitcoin reserves. And so we have these international trends, and we have these big players on the global market that are stacking up on Bitcoin. We have the Swiss National Bank, central bank, that bought shares in MicroStrategy, which of course is a bet on Bitcoin. And so we have this financial trend because of the potential of Bitcoin and because of the geopolitical implications that it might have, the same way that gold have. And as I view it now, Sweden is behind. We haven't spoken about this up until now politically. And it hasn't been an issue on the political agenda as well. So I view my role in this kind of as an educational effort within the political system. And so the reason for me suggesting the strategic Bitcoin reserve is the geopolitical reasons, the hedge against the monetary system if that would collapse, and of course the potential of Bitcoin. We do not know exactly how Bitcoin will be used in the future, but it does have the potential to disrupt, industries, economies, the whole financial markets. And for me to not jump on this train, so to speak, would be irresponsible as a politician. We need to recognize the current financial trends. We need to ride along them or be left behind. So Sweden need to prepare for this paradigm shift that will or could come in the future.
Bitcoin custody is evolving, and OnRamp is leading this change with multi-institution custody, eliminating single points of failure. Instead of relying on one institution, OnRamp secures your Bitcoin in a cold storage multi-sig vault backed by 3 independent custodians, where no single party can move your funds alone, providing an unprecedented level of security. Your assets are protected by a 100 million Lloyd's of London insurance policy, with all transactions fully auditable on-chain and only executed at your direction. This means complete transparency and control over your assets at all time. Beyond custody, OnRamp provides comprehensive Bitcoin services that include trading, lending, inheritance planning, and IRAs. You can view them as your private Bitcoin banking partner tailored to your wealth preservation goals. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or an experienced holder, OnRamp's approach helps you secure your generational wealth with unmatched security and peace of mind. You can sign up at onrampbitcoin.com and use code BRAM, that's BRAM, to receive $150 in Bitcoin after your first deposit. If you first want to learn more, you can also book a free consultation via their website to speak with one of their Bitcoin custody experts. Tell them you came through me, and they'll take extra good care of you. My American friends, I've got something for you. If you're into Bitcoin, you want to grow your stack in any way possible. What if you could do it effortlessly just by spending your fiat? The Gemini Bitcoin credit card is designed to help you do just that by giving you instant Bitcoin rewards on every purchase. Just use it like any other credit card and earn back up to 4% on transportation, 3% on dining, 2% on groceries, and 1% on everything else. There are no annual fees for this card and no exchange fees to receive your Bitcoin rewards. Sign up to get your limited edition Bitcoin Orange credit card and earn a $200 Bitcoin bonus when you spend $3,000 in the first 90 days. You can find more information and terms in the description below, or go to gemini.com/Bram to sign up today and start stacking effortlessly. That's gemini.com/Bram. Yeah. I also saw, by the way, Norway's sovereign wealth fund is also into MicroStrategy and MetaPlanet, right? So it is, and we had Luxembourg recently also, I think, buying iBit. So yeah, it is happening, and it's funny. I hear a lot of commonalities with my reasoning for writing an open letter to my government and the Ministry of Finance. I did that in December last year, also to the National Bank. It went sort of viral on X, but obviously no reply. But I had the same reasoning, and I think it's just really obvious that you should study it. One, right? Like, do you need to buy directly because someone proposes it? Well, I think we as Bitcoiners always say you need to study Bitcoin before you buy Bitcoin, right? So I think the educational effort and actually trying to figure out where do people stand, do they actually understand this bigger global picture that eventually I think Bitcoin fits into and could help a country with. But yeah, as you know, probably also from like all the personal journeys that different people have, not a lot of people question the money system or understand this bigger kind of like global connection. And so in several countries, we've seen these efforts, right? Or some people proposing, sometimes by very small parties. Like in my country, there was also a party that proposed it, but everyone voted against it, basically. Could you, for context, maybe kind of share like which party you're affiliated with, like the size, your possible influence, like what is your outlook based on like your position in the current parliament?
So I represent the party of Sweden Democrats, and I just want to make it obvious that we have nothing in common with the Democrats in America, and so we call ourselves for social conservatives. In a Swedish political context, this means that we are hard on crime. We promote law and order. We want less government spending when it's possible. At the same time, we want strong social security for those who become sick, unemployed, or have some other issues. And we are today the biggest party within the governing coalition. We do not have any mandates as ministers today. We have 3 ruling parties in the government, and we are the 4th party and the biggest one within this coalition. And so the 3 governing parties, they wouldn't be able to sit in the government without our mandates. So if we say no, then it's a new election. Then we have a political crisis in Sweden. So biggest party within the governing coalition, and the second biggest party in Sweden. The biggest one being the Social Democrats, which of course are in opposition today. A leftist party. They have around 30%. We have around 20% today.
And are there any elections planned already, or is that like far away? Or
less than a year from now, actually, we'll have general elections in Sweden. So we have it every 4th year. Approximately a year from now, we'll have a new election.
Yeah. I'm asking because I remembered from our conversation in our short conversation in Vegas that the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve is also on the platform or in the program of your party, right?
So
you're claiming that in a sense.
So I have filed a proposal as a Sweden Democrat where I suggest the building up of the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and this will be processed within the Committee on Finance, and then we'll see how it goes. Probably it won't gain majority at this point, but the point for me now is to as I said, do an educational effort within the political system, within my party, within the general public of Sweden, and then we can start kind of building reform or support for reforms. Me and the party of the moderates in the Swedish Parliament, we actually hosted this first Bitcoin seminar in the Swedish Parliament just 4 weeks ago, and we have international guests. We had John Tree. We had Christopher Bakel, Niels van der Wiel, and a couple of other speakers that came to Sweden from America and from Great Britain and engaged with me, engaged with other MPs, and engaged with the staffers. So we had a good discussion there. So to answer your question, I filed this proposal, and then it will be processed, and then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, very interesting to see where that goes. So now you propose this. You have these seminars. You have like sessions where you inform people. What did you learn from your interactions with the Swedish central bank, the finance minister, other people regarding this proposal?
Very interesting, actually. So this is we had a public hearing back in March with the Swedish central bank. And this is actually the reason to why I'm sitting here today, because I asked the Swedish central bank. I referred to these international trends that I've been speaking about, other central banks, other governments, and so on that are building up strategic Bitcoin reserves. And I asked the Swedish central bank, okay, so you do have a gold reserve, you have a currency reserve. Wouldn't it be reasonable, at least, to evaluate a possibility of building up a strategic Bitcoin reserve? And the answer that I got was actually astonishing, because one of the central bankers for the Swedish central bank said that, okay, quote, I haven't heard of any international examples of other countries or central banks that are stacking up on Bitcoin, unquote. And that kind of left me speechless, because these are intelligent people. So my conclusion from this is just, they're not informed about Bitcoin. They do not know what is happening in this field. They haven't done their own research on Bitcoin. And of course, that's a problem when you have central bankers that are influencing, regular people's day-to-day life, but they're not updated with the latest biggest trends. I mean, Bitcoin today is the 8th biggest asset in the world. But the key takeaway from this was that, okay, the knowledge about Bitcoin on the highest professional level in Sweden is non-existent.
Yeah, I'm also surprised by that. Me as a humble pleb sort of figured that out, right? And then the people that are supposed to know, they don't really know. Astonishing, I think is the right word, but very interesting. And how about your colleagues? I mean, you're claiming a new topic, you're sharing about that. You have a certain position in this parliament. Like how did your colleagues reply? Were there any surprising supporters or skeptics?
No, very predictable, actually. So I sit in the Committee on Finance, so we work with these kind of questions on a day-to-day basis. You can say, I mean, our profession is to work with issues with regard to economy, financials, and so on. And so my closest colleagues within my party, they are supporting this, my policy on Bitcoin fully, because they do understand economy, they have done the research the same way that I did, and they've drawn the same conclusions with regards to, the monetary system, the central banks. And so, it was quite predictable. Then I have some other colleagues within some other committees that does not work with these kind of questions on a day-to-day basis. So I invited them to the seminar that we've held with John Tree to expose them for Bitcoin, and they showed up. They're still skeptical, but at least they're starting to intellectually think about Bitcoin. They're starting to challenge their core beliefs about Bitcoin. So within my party, we have, I would say, pretty solid support.
And what kind of like risks and opportunities do you see for Sweden if it's early to adopting Bitcoin? That was kind of my reasoning also in my open letter, is like this is going to happen at some point, so you have to pay attention, or you risk of falling behind. How do you kind of like talk through those risks and the opportunities that you see for Sweden?
Yeah, so the opportunities is obviously the potential of Bitcoin, and the risks would obviously be that Sweden will fall behind every other nation that are currently doing it. And we're all already falling behind because we do not have any strategic Bitcoin reserves. We do not have any formalized plans to at least, not, the confiscated Bitcoin, we could keep them and not sell them. Then we could build up a strategic Bitcoin reserve in a budget neutral way. I think this would be the first step. But the political system, the central bank, they haven't gotten this yet. And in today's world, in today's financial markets, everything moves so quickly. Just look at the AI revolution. You need to be on it from the beginning. Otherwise, you will be left behind. And in terms of risks, I mean, it's hard to really put a finger on what it would mean. We do not know what the future holds for us exactly. But I do know that there's huge potential in Bitcoin. And we need to be on this from day one because everyone else are doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so in Europe, there's a lot of talk, mostly from Christine Lagarde about, the central bank digital currency. She even has China as a great example of that implementation, which is also astonishing. In my mind, the acceleration of the idea of CBDCs is a direct response to the proliferation of Bitcoin. I also find it very interesting that the ECB actually pays attention to Bitcoin. This weird fringe magic internet money is apparently stupid and dies, and they have written several reports on it. Mm-hmm. How is that in Sweden? You're not part of the euro. Is there any talk about an e-krona or CBDCs? How is that kind of crashing into your proposal?
Yeah, for sure. So in my proposal, I do have one bit about the CBDC, the e-krona, which is the Swedish version of a central bank digital currency, and where I state that, okay, the Swedish government should communicate that they will not pursue a central bank digital currency in Sweden. And our central bank, the Swedish central bank, they have been working with the e-krona project since 2017. And I actually managed to stop one government investigation back in 2021 that proposed that Sweden should change the definition of legal tender. So legal tender today in Sweden is cash, money, and then digital cash, bank money. So in order to integrate a central bank digital currency in Sweden, you need to change the definition of legal tender to make it technically neutral. That's how they expressed it. And so I managed to stop it before it came to a formal proposal. But the Swedish Central Bank, they have been working on this e-krona project ever since. But I have been very vocal about this and said that if it comes up to a vote in the Swedish Parliament, because that's what you need to do, then my party will definitely vote no to a CBDC, to a e-krona. And from my sources and my understanding is that's kind of put on hold, this whole e-krona project. And there are, like I said, okay, let's just evaluate what happens, on the euro level with the e-euro, and let's take it from there. Let's not just jump to conclusions. Let's not, take part of this big experiment, like one of the biggest as the first nation in Europe. And you have China. I don't think that's a great example to follow. But yeah, Lagarde does that anyway. And when you look in, so why is this problematic then? Why is a central bank digital currency problematic? So for me, there are a few reasons. Number one is integrity. If the government would like to monitor all your transactions, that would be possible within a technology like the central bank digital currency. And that is exactly what they're doing in China. And number two is for the central bank, if they at some point in time would like to impose negative interest rates in order to stimulate the economy, that would also be possible with a central bank digital currency. That would, in practice, be a tax on your savings if you have negative interest rates. And number three, and the biggest one for me, is what I call programmability, or in order to achieve certain political goals. I want to make it clear that at this point in time, I do trust our central bank in the way I'm not thinking that they're up to something shady in that sense. But let's say we have some new central bankers in the future, or some government that want to take it too far, so to speak, then you could use the central bank digital currency in order to achieve certain goals. Let's say climate goals. You could limit, how they could limit your air travel. They could limit how much meat you're allowed to consume every week, how much gas you're allowed to put in your car every week, and so on. So this is a centralization of power. This is the exactly opposite of what Bitcoin stands for, which is, of course, decentralization. The problem here is, like, once you open this Pandora's box, it's impossible to roll it back. Just look at what happened, in Canada during COVID. You have these truck drivers protests, and the government decided to shut down their bank accounts, just like that. So imagine what they could do with a central bank digital currency. So this is dangerous, and we need to be very cautious with this moving forward.
They don't understand technology, right? They don't understand that once it gets out there and the entire world can scrutinize, whatever their technological proposal is, and then put Bitcoin next to that, it just exposes the current flaws and potential misuse, as you mentioned, right? Because if something exists that cannot be changed, and if something exists that could possibly, maybe, I don't know, 5% chance, whatever, be changed in 50 years, and your grandchildren are stuck in this digital prison, then you shouldn't do it, right? Like there aren't any good arguments to the benefit of the majority of people to then do it, right? So I'm actually not that scared about CBDCs, in the sense that when they do the actual proposal, people will scrutinize it. When they force adoption, people will scrutinize. Right? There is no organic way for them to have people to adopt it. So it has to go by force, which shows you there's another intent than to just make cash digital and easier, and all the super basic arguments that they use for why a digital euro or krona should exist. So I'm not really scared about it. I'm just more like, just propose it, just try to do it, and you'll see what happens. Yeah. So if Sweden eventually moves forward with a Bitcoin reserve, what would that actually look like? I mean, in the US, they talk about acquiring Bitcoin in a budget neutral way, or from like confiscation for criminals and stuff like that. What is in your proposal for Sweden?
So my proposal at this stage is to keep the confiscated Bitcoin within the government. We could transfer them to the central bank, and they could manage it. I think this is the logical first step to do this kind of in a budget neutral way. I think if we should be able to gain some support for these kind of reforms, you need to take it step by step. Sweden is not mature enough to, build up a strategic Bitcoin reserve by buying Bitcoin. So I think at this point, at least, so I think the first step is to kind of promote this in a budget neutral way. We could keep the confiscated Bitcoins within the government, and in that sense, not lose our chance to be part of the new global reserve asset. So I think this would be the way to go, at least at first.
If you want to self-custody your Bitcoin stack, I recommend the Blockstream Jade Plus. I've been using this premium Bitcoin-only hardware wallet for a few months now, and I love its design and ease of use. What makes it stand out is its open source hardware and software, and Blockstream's unique genuine check, which makes sure that your device is authentic. No backdoors or compromises. You can connect with the Jade Plus however you want, Bluetooth, USB-C, or you can go fully air-gapped with its built-in camera for cable-free QR transactions. The metal case feels solid and the color screen is easy to read, and it connects with your favorite Bitcoin apps like Blockstream Green, Sparrow, and Electrum. Get your Jade Plus today at store.blockstream.com and use code BRAM to get 10% of your entire order. Let's talk about something a lot of people don't think about before it's too late. Where are you storing your Bitcoin seed words? Are they truly secure? I found my solution with Stampseed. They now offer both 12 and 24 word titanium plates, so whether you're securing a hardware wallet or a multi-sig setup, they got you covered. Your seed phrase gets permanently stamped into pure titanium that withstands fire, survives water, and lasts for generations. Unlike shallow etching methods, Stampseed's patented tools help you to deeply stamp every letter for permanent readability, protecting your financial legacy. Their new kit includes test pieces for practice and is compatible with both the 12 and the 24 word plates. Paper seed phrases are a disaster waiting to happen. Secure your Bitcoin with Stampseed for decades to come. Go to stampseed.com and use code BRAM, that's BRAM, for 15% of your order. Yeah, so basically don't sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And how much Bitcoin does Sweden have then now?
0.
Okay. Oh, so there is no confiscated Bitcoin.
Yeah, but they sell them. They sell them.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, okay.
So when they take them from criminals, they don't keep them. They sell them. Yeah.
Yeah, check. All right. Yeah, you mentioned this seminar you recently had. I think it was a few weeks ago with Gen 3. Obviously, that's Samson Mouse and Prince Philip's organization, where they help nation states in education and adoption on Bitcoin. What were some highlights or insights from that seminar, and also for the people you mentioned that actually came? Do you think it kind of changed their perspective afterwards? Like, did it help?
Yeah, for some people, for sure. And it served its purpose, which was to get the discussion going and get people to intellectually think about Bitcoin, speak about Bitcoin. And so I asked them to kind of, just do some a background story about Bitcoin, what is Bitcoin, and so on, and then just let kind of the conversation flow so we can, eliminate all these regular misconceptions that surround Bitcoins about it being a financial bubble. It's used by criminals, terrorists, and so on and so forth. So these were kind of the questions that got up, and they answered really, really good. I think it was a really successful seminar. It was great dynamic, great interactions between MPs, staffers, John Tree. So and also the Bitcoin community in Sweden was invited as well. So it was the international Bitcoin community, or representations for it, the Swedish MPs, staffers, and the local Bitcoin community. And so people got to know each other. They changed their contacts and so on. So it really served its purpose.
Mm. Obviously, I think the Bitcoiners in Sweden are happy with your support and the proposal. Have you also gotten feedback just from more like Swedish general public after this after the proposal got more attention also on just national news and stuff? Like what are you seeing is the general reaction to this?
For sure, I got some reactions from our voters as well that are not typically into Bitcoin, but they saw me speaking about it. So yeah, and always like the first question that you get is, okay, but what about crime or terrorism or all this kind of myths surrounding Bitcoin? And already there, like, I've served my purpose, because people that are not into Bitcoin, they start to think about it, they start to speak about it, they're coming to me asking about it. And as I said in the beginning of this podcast, I think every thinking human being should, do their own research to get your own opinion on it. So the interactions with my voters has been great as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, the clip of Tucker Carlson talking about how Bitcoin was made by the CIA. I don't know if you saw that, but
Yeah, I saw it.
That was interesting. But what actually stuck out to me was when the guy in the audience asks the question, yeah, something like, do you see Bitcoin as a viable investment or asset? The honing of the audience, I thought, was very interesting. And then people are like, "Oh, there's another guy who's talking about Bitcoin," and it reminded me of like 3 or 4 years ago. There was this clip that went somewhat viral of quite a famous entrepreneur in the U.S. who did a commencement speech at a university, and he talked about Bitcoin, being able to secure their future. And then like this whole stadium was like honing him, like, "Oh, what a nonsense!" And it kind of shows us how early we are. So I think it's also quite courageous of you to just put it out there, because I do think the majority of people have a wrong perception about what Bitcoin is. And I think, all the stuff that happened in 2017, 18, 19 with crypto and FTX and all these things and all the bad publicity and also research papers, right? By, for example, Dutch Central Bank. There was a guy there who is actually the source of a lot of misinformation about Bitcoin's energy use and all these things. You see that in like mainstream media, those views or conclusions have been adopted, and that is basically what created the understanding of Bitcoin in the majority of the public. But I do think it's slowly changing, right? Like people know stuff is getting more expensive, and yeah, they're I think logically driven to trying to figure out what is going on. But like you said, it's a one-by-one conversion, so some people will be
for sure. And we're actually seeing, I forgot to mention it, we're seeing some change within the Swedish traditional banking sector as well, because I did a podcast in May, and there I stated that the financial trends that usually starts in the US sooner or later comes to Europe, they come to Sweden, and it's not a question of if, it's a question about when, with regards to Bitcoin. And just in August, we got some new headlines out of the biggest newspapers in Sweden that the biggest traditional banks, we have 4 big banks in Sweden, that they are re-evaluating their current negative stance on Bitcoin. Why are they doing it? Because they're seeing that we have all these kind of niche banks that are taking a pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto stance. They're losing customers. They're seeing these international trends. They're seeing what banks, institutionals are doing in the US. So they're starting to grasp this concept as well. Okay, we need to be moving with time and not working against it. Otherwise, there will be irrelevant. So we do have some evolvement as well within the Swedish traditional banking system. And I believe when that really happens, Bitcoin will become more mainstream in Sweden.
Yeah. I think this is probably not something that you share a lot, but probably agree with, is that, of course, like the control of the money also creates a certain control for not only the banks, but also the government, right? So when you talk about Bitcoin, something they can't really control, but probably must adopt at one point, this kind of creates friction between that need for control or having a tool for a certain type of control and basically giving that away. How do you talk through that when someone mentions that? Like just the desire for, on one side, innovation, getting with the program, it's 2025, right? And also like security and the concerns from other government agencies or like traditional banks that obviously have a certain advantage to, they have a certain advantage in a fiat money system.
Yeah, I mean, the traditional banks, they will lose control if they're not, following the latest innovations, the latest financial trends. So it's already on its way, so to speak. So they need to be open to new innovations. They need to be open to new financial trends. Otherwise, they will be irrelevant, because we do have some niche banks in Sweden that are pro crypto, pro Bitcoin, and what we're seeing is that the customers are at least the younger ones today, they're fleeing from traditional banks to the more niche banks, because they're allowing, Bitcoin-backed lending, trading, buying, selling, and so on. And the biggest banks in Sweden today, they're not doing it. So they do understand what is about to happen, and I think that the first bank in Sweden that do allow Bitcoin on its platform will have a lot to gain in terms of customers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we look ahead, if we could fast forward 5 years, what's your best case scenario for Bitcoin in Sweden?
Best case scenario would be that my proposal would get accepted, that we build up a strategic Bitcoin reserve, first in a budget neutral way. And second step would be to start buying Bitcoin. That's number one. And number two is the second part of my proposal. And that is to keep dismissing the central bank digital currency. These are the two most important steps.
So if you could give advice to any other young leaders, any other people that are active in politics or want to be active in politics or within bigger companies where they have a certain leadership position, what advice would you give them for bringing big unconventional ideas like Bitcoin reserves to the mainstream?
Just do it, and then you will get momentum. And the whole international Bitcoin community is amazing. There's so much knowledge, there's so much competence, within the Bitcoin community, and you will get support by Bitcoiners within your country, but from the international community as well. That's how I, started my Bitcoin learning journey that I'm still on. I'm still learning more about Bitcoin, but the support that I've gained from Bitcoiners in Sweden, from the international community, is amazing. It has really helped me, with formulating my proposal, but also like connecting me with new people such as John Tree and those guys that came along to Sweden and did a seminar within the Swedish Parliament. So you should use the international Bitcoin community to sharpen your arguments, to sharpen your own knowledge, and to advocate for Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating that you can almost co-create with a global network of people that have spent thousands of hours on this topic, right? I honestly already think that Bitcoin is already like a network state, right? Wherever you go, if I come to Stockholm and I say I'm into Stockholm, who wants to hang out? There are people that want to hang out, or when
exactly
you have a certain problem, or I always kind of jokingly say, like, if I wake up tomorrow with some crazy disease or whatever, I can just put it out there in the community, and maybe a week later I'm in a random country with a Bitcoin person that is actually an expert doctor on that subject, right? Like, I already think that is the case, and it's very cool that you are also experiencing that. So I wish you all the best working with this and going forward. I'm going to follow it with interest, and if it happens, please let me know, and we'll have another conversation. That would be very exciting. And I just want to wrap up with a question that I ask everyone at the end, which you kind of mentioned at the beginning, but maybe there's a different answer now. But the question is, what is a core belief that you will never let go of?
A core belief that I would never let go of is that everyone should do their own research, that you shouldn't just trust the information that is out there. You shouldn't trust the big headlines. You should do your own research and get your own opinion on something. That's a core belief that I operate with from a day-to-day basis. And you should always challenge your beliefs as well and be open to new information.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for your insights. I hope people found it valuable. And
Awesome. Thank you, man.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you can click here to find more just like it, and click here to find all Bitcoin for Millennials podcast episodes. Also, please like this video if you want to help shine a light on the message of Bitcoin, and subscribe to my channel to stay connected. I hope to see you for a next episode. Bye.